essentially anything that is fermented, that has gone through a fermentation process that does not have a high sugar content is going to help to feed your gut bacteria. Hi, I'm Maria, otherwise known as the Fit Foodie. I'm a chef, holistic nutritionist, author, inventor, and mom. And I want to welcome you to my podcast. It's called Recipes for Your Best Life. And with every episode, I'm peeling back the onion on fitness, nutrition, health, wellness, and family. The truth is, you're the chef of your life. And for every important pillar, there's a great recipe worth sharing. So every week, we'll explore them together. Think of it as food for thought that you can really sink your teeth into. So join me, and let's squeeze the joy out of this life, because you only get one. Can I get a fork, yeah? Trust your gut means more than you can imagine. Often referred to as the little brain, your gut controls your mood, your ability to absorb nutrients and regulate hormones. And now, many studies are corroborating the fact that your gut health also indicates whether or not you might get COVID and how you might recover from it. Boy, I have been talking about this since, I don't know, when we first started hearing about COVID, and I shared it and I talked about it. But now studies all over the world are concluding the same thing. If we don't take care of our gut and that very important bacteria that helps to keep our health in check, guess what? It's going to throw us off balance. So it's not even about losing weight or burning fat or the clarity of our skin, our immunity. Well, sort of our immunity, but it's so much more than that. It's not just about warding off colds. It is about how you respond to disease. And this is what we're going to dive into in this episode. Thank you so much for joining me. This is probably one of the most important things that I'll talk about all year, because I really, truly believe that we have in our hands the ability to impact so many people and help prevent so much suffering that doesn't need to happen. We can do so much by avoiding disease, by helping to armor ourselves with the end of our fork. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and what you can add into your diet and into your everyday routine to help bolster your gut health with probiotics, prebiotics, and supplements that I love and recommend. But I want to dive into some of this data because I'm a data geek and I've been poring over some of the studies that have been chronicled from around the world. And I want to share some of the data with you so you get your arms around what is happening. So we all know the importance of a healthy gut. We've established that. It revs up digestion and metabolism. It promotes overall well-being. It helps with your health. It helps to prevent things like that we don't like to talk about, like problems in the bathroom. Let's just leave it at that. But according to a report on the official website of the University of California, Davis, which I'm very proud to announce my daughter will be attending in the fall, the gut health is so much more than that. It describes the function and balance of bacteria of the many parts of the gastrointestinal or GI tract. And there's an extensive variety of bacteria in our digestive tract. So when we talk about bacteria, it's the good kind. It's the kind that helps to keep us in balance. And when we eat foods that maybe are not balanced, hopefully our gut health is strong enough where it doesn't put us down for the count. But when your gut health is not in good shape and it doesn't have diverse microbiome, it can lead to a whole myriad of problems. And not just lowered immunity, but actual mental issues, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. But this is often referred to as the microbiome. And so these microorganisms are so extremely beneficial for our health because they impact our mood, our mental health, our skin health, our immunity, etc. And for the uninitiated, people who are just hearing about the link between gut health and overall health, about 70% of our immune cells are housed within the gut wall. 70%, that's a whole forking lot. And so it would make sense, friends, that our gut health is a pretty critical part of maintaining overall immunity, preventing severe flu and bacterial attacks in the long run. Now, establishing the importance of gut microbiome, studies around the world are finding links to these bacteria and COVID-19. And they have concluded unanimously that the severity of COVID-19, as well as the ability of the immune system to respond to infection, is connected integrally to gut health. And it also suggests that any kind of imbalance that may lead to persistent inflammatory symptoms, which is often termed as long COVID or long-term COVID, are connected to a gut imbalance. And one of these findings is found in the journal called, appropriately, Gut. So let's talk about this a little bit more in detail. So when you look into gut health, of course, it is contributed to by your habits, what you eat specifically. So strengthening your immunity begins with fueling your body. And I talk a lot about this. I talked about it in detail in my book, Eat Like You Give a Fork, The Real Dish on Eating to Thrive. And a good portion of my book is dedicated to prebiotic and probiotic rich foods. You can get those from a variety of things. Prebiotics, which basically feeds the gut garden to help it grow. I always think of feeding your gut garden as just like feeding your plants. You want to use the good fertilizer, the stuff that makes your sprouts go off, which I'm very happy to report is happening in my garden as we speak. And that can be from onions, garlic, asparagus. You can get it from bananas. You can get it from chicory root, dandelion, artichoke, so many foods that help to feed the prebiotic need. And a lot of that just comes from fiber-rich foods. So we know by eating those foods that you get the probiotics to stick, so to speak. So probiotic-rich foods can come in a lot of different forms too. You can get those from dairy-rich foods, like Greek yogurt is one of my favorites. Plain Greek yogurt, not the kind with the sugar added because that defeats the purpose. Foods with sugar are going to deplete your gut bacteria. So anytime you see a label with yogurt, but lots of sugar added, it's basically canceling out any good that the yogurt would bring to the table. Same with kombucha. A lot of kombucha products out there, but if they're adding a bunch of sugar, it's going to defeat the purpose. So we want pure sources of probiotic rich foods. Now you can get that from pickled foods too, like kimchi and sauerkraut and pickled vegetables. Even your good old pickles that you add to your meals are a great source of probiotics. Sourdough starter is a great fermented rich food. Apple cider vinegar, make sure it's the raw kind, not the distilled kind. The one with the mother in it, that's going to help to feed a good gut health. And also foods like fermented black garlic. Essentially anything that is fermented that has gone through a fermentation process that does not have a high sugar content is going to help to feed your gut bacteria. So we know that eating these types of foods should be an essential part of our everyday habit. So my question to you is, why the fork is no one talking about this in a big way? You have to find, it seems like, the off the beaten path nutritionist or holistic practitioner or somebody that is recommending these things that is often termed as alternative. But if all of these studies are becoming mainstream, why isn't this knowledge mainstream too, I might ask? So let me share with you a couple of other studies because there are, like I mentioned, many studies going on around the world, and that was just one of them. Here's another one. So after an extensive survey that was done in a study in India. They found that the gut microbiome has the potential effect that we believe that COVID-19 severities and persistent symptoms bring on, such as fatigue, breathlessness, and joint pain. And so it's interesting to me when I hear this, because I think oftentimes COVID-19 is deeply rooted in being a respiratory health issue. But then you look at the symptoms, you look at fatigue, you look at joint pain, you look at diarrhea, and you look at some of these other symptoms, and it makes you wonder, wait, how does that really relate to a cardiovascular or a respiratory issue? It sounds to me like, especially the gastrointestinal imbalance, that has everything to do with your gut health. And certainly joint pain and inflammation are highly, highly connected, and inflammatory disease is often linked to a bad gut. So in this study, they looked at bolstering, meaning adding beneficial gut species that might be depleted due to a COVID-19 situation. And they're finding that that is a novel or new avenue to mitigate severe disease. So managing patients with COVID-19 by adding a diverse gut bacteria or microbiome enhancing bacteria to their regimen is an approach to actually helping people get over their symptoms. And I find this very fascinating and very interesting. Have you ever wondered, is rinsing my produce with the water that comes out of the sink that I don't even drink enough to really clean it? Well, then you're one of the smartest people I know, because you're absolutely right. It's not enough. That's why we created the only all-natural and patented line of food wash and wipes, and it's called Eat Cleaner. It's tasteless, odorless, and lab tested, and it removes up to 99.9% of the residue that water can't, including pesticides, wax, soil, and junk that can carry bacteria that can really make you sick. Plus, we formulated it to help extend the shelf life of your fresh produce too, and that'll save you money. When your berries are lasting up to 10-12 days, you know that's a good thing. It helps your produce last up to 5 times longer using a natural blend of fruit acids and antioxidants. So there's no chemicals. It's just clean eating fun. And this can help save your family an average of over $500 per year. Make it easy on yourself, reduce waste, and get that fruit and veggies into your body, where it's gonna do you a lot of good and not in the trash. Check us out, eatcleaner.com, or head to our Amazon store at amazon.com/eatcleaner. Now, another study published in the British Medical Journal found similar results. So they found that although COVID-19 is referred to as primarily a respiratory illness, there's mounting evidence suggesting that the GI tract or the gastrointestinal tract is involved in this disease. They investigated whether the gut microbiome is linked to COVID-19 and the severity of it in patients, and how the differences in the microbiome composition might impact the SARS or COVID-19 virus. Now, I talked a little bit about the diverse bacteria in the microbiome. So it's not just bacteria, it's literally hundreds of billions of different bacteria and many different strains, 30, 40 different strains of this bacteria. So when you look at supplements, and I am a big fan of taking a daily supplement, I take Garden of Life. I'll have a link to it here in the show notes. It's got 100 billion bacteria in it with 34 diverse strains. Having that diversity is as important as taking a probiotic, because there's a lot of products out there that kind of, rep themselves as being a great probiotic. But if it doesn't have that diversity, then you're not giving your gut the food that it needs. So by looking at patients